Imagine a scene straight out of a movie. A young man, barely out of his teens, cruising the streets, impersonating a figure of authority. This isn't fiction. This is the bewildering tale of a 19-year-old who dared to impersonate a deputy in broad daylight. On a crisp day in 2023, the Choctaw Police Department found themselves grappling with an unusual case. Reports flooded in about a mysterious man in an unmarked setting, confidently introducing himself as the sheriff. But his audacity didn't stop there. This brazen impersonator had already flagged down 2 vehicles in the heart of Choctaw, equipped with nothing more than a duty belt and a ballistic vest. One of the drivers, sensing something amiss, promptly dialed 911. He narrated his encounter with a man whose car flashed police lights and who claimed to be working undercover. The Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, sensing the gravity of the situation, wasted no time. Deputies were dispatched, their objective clear: find and apprehend this audacious impersonator. Their search led them to a vehicle that matched the description provided by the alarmed citizens. The officer's initial interaction with the man was a mix of caution and curiosity. "Any weapons on you?" one officer asked, trying to gauge the situation. The reply was far from what they expected. "I hail from Tennessee. This vest, I wore it for my drive here, but I won't stand being singled out in a state I don't call home." It's downright maddening. The officer, trying to piece together the puzzle, probed further. "So you claim to be a deputy sheriff?" The man's response added another layer of complexity to the already baffling scenario. "I'm affiliated with the sheriff's office, yes. My role? A corrections officer. This vest? It's my personal choice. My car outside, the Kia, that's mine. I know it's unusual. Back when I was in jail, I'd always remove my gear, especially for long drives like the one from Tennessee. But here, in this state, I've been stopped multiple times, both in Tennessee and Arkansas. They always find it peculiar, but I have my reasons." The spotlight was now on Jackson Jones, a 19-year-old native of Tennessee. The evidence was irrefutable. Captured on body cam, Jones was seen sporting a full police uniform. The officers, though seasoned, found themselves in uncharted territory. It's a rarity, almost a taboo, for off-duty officers to flaunt their uniform in public. While the official guidelines of Oklahoma City on employee attire might skirt around the issue, a deeper dive into their regulations reveals the unspoken rule. The officers, now armed with this knowledge, realized the gravity of the situation. Impersonating an officer isn't just a breach of trust. It's a crime that undermines the very fabric of law enforcement. The unfolding scene took another twist when one of the officers, trying to get to the bottom of the situation, asked Mr. Jones for any tangible proof of his claims. Could he produce any evidence to validate his assertion of being the sheriff? Jones' response was puzzling. He claimed that his department hadn't provided him with any documentation to confirm his role. This claim raised eyebrows. It's a well-known fact that every law enforcement officer is issued an identification badge, a symbol of their authority and position.
It's like in Tennessee, I got pulled over for it, and guess what?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's against the law or anything, it's just
And I've even
odd.
had it taken off, and I've had it set right here before, and they're like, and I get yelled at for it. They're like, well, it's kind of weird that you got your belt and your vest.
You got any kind of employment identification?
Dude, they don't give me that when you work at the jail.
Really? You don't have like an access card or an ID badge or anything for the facility that you work at?
I don't. I can show you my face, though. That helps you. Think I'm lying. You all think I'm lying, I mean, give me a show.
Well, so my only deal
So it's
is
the
when you
Department
wear...
of Finance, Campbell County. Here you go.
Yeah.
This
Are
is
you
my
commissioned to
face,
carry a gun?
No, I'm not even.
You're not?
No.
Okay.
I don't even have a gun on me.
Well, you realize wearing the sheriff on your chest...
This offense could lead to imprisonment for up to a year, a fine, or both. Given the evidence at hand, it was becoming increasingly evident that Jones was treading on thin ice. But the surprises didn't end there. As the conversation progressed, The officer spotted an open container of alcohol in Jones' vehicle. Jones was quick to distance himself, claiming it wasn't his. However, the officer was firm. It doesn't matter who it belongs to. If it's in your vehicle, you'll be charged with an open container violation. The situation was escalating. The officer, trying to drive home the gravity of the situation, pointed out Jones' lack of arrest powers and the problematic sheriff's patch on his vest. The analogy was clear. Have you ever heard of individuals caught with drugs claiming the pants they're wearing aren't theirs? The officer's message was unmistakable. Denial and evasion wouldn't work here. Jones' defense was a mix of resignation and defiance. "I'll take the patch off," he offered, sensing the mounting pressure. But his claims continued. "I am a deputy sheriff. I wear this vest for my drives, even the long ones from Tennessee to Choctaw, Oklahoma." The officer, trying to bring some clarity to the situation, responded, "It's not about the drive. It's about the implications of wearing that vest in public, especially when you're not on duty." The conversation took a personal turn. Jones mentioned his mother, hinting at aspirations of becoming a cop in the area where she resided. The officer, sensing an opportunity to diffuse the tension, acknowledged Jones' aspirations, but emphasized the importance of following the right path. The atmosphere grew tenser as the second officer on the scene delved deeper into the mystery. He questioned Mr. Jones about an individual in a truck who had reportedly been stopped by him just moments before. This individual would soon become a pivotal character in this unfolding drama. Mr. Jones, attempting to downplay the situation, claimed that the truck's occupant had merely been staring and laughing at him. In response, he had approached the truck to inquire about the reason for the amusement. This version starkly contrasted with the reports that had reached the department, which painted a picture of Mr. Jones actively pulling over vehicles using flashing lights. The officers, maintaining their professionalism, continued their line of questioning. "Did you step out of your car in the parking lot?" one officer inquired. Jones admitted to doing so, recounting his interaction with the truck driver at a McDonald's parking lot. The narrative was becoming murkier.
That's all right. And you don't have a gun with you or anything like that?
You can search the car.
I can search the car?
I mean,
Is that what you said?
You asked me if I had a gun on me. I don't have a gun on me.
I was just asking if you had a gun on you. You
No, I
said something
really
about I can search the car.
I don't.
You don't mind if I search the car?
I don't care if you search the car.
Okay, cool. Step on out if you don't mind.
The scene was a mix of tension and anticipation. One officer, trying to piece together the puzzle, asked, "Do you wear this vest on duty in the jail?" Jones' reply was evasive. "I usually wear it under my shirt." The officer, not missing a beat, probed further about the vehicle Jones had allegedly stopped. The narrative was becoming increasingly convoluted, with Jones' version of events shifting with each question. Amidst the questioning, the officers discovered a Templar emblem in the wrong position on the vest, further raising suspicions. The pieces of the puzzle weren't fitting together. One officer remarked, "All kinds of red flags. He's acting like it wouldn't be a big deal if he wore the vest at work, but then contradicts himself." Seeking clarity, the officers decided to verify Mr. Jones' claims by contacting a supervisor at his alleged place of employment. However, in a slip of the tongue, Jones revealed he hadn't been to work for 2 weeks. This revelation further solidified the officers' suspicions. The evidence was mounting, and it was becoming evident that Mr. Jones' story was riddled with inconsistencies. The situation was reaching a critical point. The officers, piecing together the evidence, were faced with a clear case of impersonation. The presence of an open container of alcohol in Jones' vehicle only added to the complexity of the situation. The law was clear, and the officers knew they had to act. The officers, determined to get to the bottom of the situation, pressed Mr. Jones for more details. "It's strange that you're dressed in uniform, even though you haven't been on duty recently. Where did you get the vest carrier?" they inquired. Jones replied that he had purchased it from a police store in Knoxville, Tennessee. As the officers continued their line of questioning, a significant development occurred. The individual who had initially called 911 suspecting Jones' impersonation arrived at the scene. He was eager to share his side of the story, which, as it turned out, was starkly different from Mr. Jones' account. The man recounted his encounter with Jones. "I was driving when I noticed him parked in a driveway. I stared at him for a while, trying to figure out who he was. As I drove off, he followed me. When he finally approached me, he claimed to be an undercover cop from Wellston, working alongside the highway patrol. He even mentioned he had just turned 22. This testimony was the missing piece of the puzzle. The officers now had a first-hand account that directly contradicted Jones' version of events. It was evident that Jones had been impersonating a law enforcement officer, a serious offense under Oklahoma law. In Oklahoma, the law is clear. Not only is impersonating a law enforcement officer a crime, but transporting an open container of alcohol is also a misdemeanor. This offense can lead to 6 months in county jail and a fine of up to $500. The officers, having gathered all the necessary evidence and statements, transported Mr. Jones to the Oklahoma County Detention Center. There, he was formally charged with false impersonation of a peace officer and transporting an open container. All his belongings, including the vest, duty belt, radio, lapel mic, knives, and alcohol, were seized and submitted as evidence. A few days later, Oklahoma County Sheriff Tommy Johnson weighed in on the incident. He commended the witness for their vigilance, stating, "We spoke with the witness who reported Jackson's aggressive behavior and false claims of being an undercover officer. They did the right thing by calling the police." The revelations surrounding Jackson Jones' past actions sent ripples throughout the community. The fact that this wasn't his first offense raised concerns about the effectiveness of the legal system in deterring such behavior. The community was left grappling with a mix of emotions: disbelief, concern, and a desire for justice. As days turned into weeks, the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office worked diligently to build a case against Jones, with evidence mounting and eyewitness testimonies corroborating the events. The legal proceedings began. The court sessions were well attended, with many community members eager to see the outcome of this perplexing case. During the trial, Jones' defense argued that his actions, though misguided, were not malicious in intent. They painted a picture of a young man fascinated by law enforcement, albeit taking his admiration to an extreme and illegal extent. The prosecution, on the other hand, highlighted the dangers of his impersonation, emphasizing the potential harm and mistrust such actions could cause within the community. After days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Jackson Jones was found guilty of impersonating a law enforcement officer and transporting an open container. Given his previous dismissal for a similar offense, the judge handed down a sentence that reflected the severity of his repeated actions. Jones was sentenced to serve time in a correctional facility, followed by mandatory community service and counseling. The judge emphasized the importance of rehabilitation, hoping that Jones would come to understand the gravity of his actions and find a more constructive way to channel his interests. The community, while relieved at the conclusion of the trial, was left with lingering questions about the broader implications of the case. Discussions about the importance of trust, the role of law enforcement, and the need for community vigilance became commonplace.